All right, welcome back. We're still talking about the End SARS protest, which is sweeping across the country, and I'm joined by Mr. Macaroni, who has been the leading voice right from the start of the protest. Thanks for being here today. I want to talk demands now, because it looks like that's been the crux of everything. You know, government seems to say, okay, what do you people want? They've said send representatives over and over, trying to set up panels with young people. Young people are saying, these are our demands. What are these demands? Because what do you want to see from governments that you think would show you that there's some level of action coming from them?
Okay, well, thank you, Buka. First, I would say I'm only a concerned Nigerian youth. Yes, maybe because one or two people know me, it might look like, okay, Macaroni, you will see his face. But I'm just as concerned as every other Nigerian youth is concerned. What I think, when we say demands, you know, it seems like the government, the youths, maybe they keep going back and forth on what demands are. It's clear. What do you even do? What do you do in situations like this? Show a sign of good faith. Good faith. Show to the Nigerian youth that you're ready to listen, that you have listened, and you keep saying you're working on them, but there are decisive actions that can be taken that will prove to the Nigerian youth that yes, okay, they are beginning to listen.
So you don't think there's been decisive action?
I don't.
So to play devil's advocate here, the SARS has been disbanded, like I said. Lagos State government has fired a number of police officers. We've seen dismissals in Anambra State. We've seen police officers, being talked about being prosecuted. Why are those not enough?
SARS has been disbanded. What is SARS? SARS is, forget about the special anti-robbery squad thing. SARS is a menace. It's a threat that is going on in the country.
It's beyond the unit.
Yeah, it is. That's why we're saying for a complete reform of the police force. Now you're saying SARS has been disbanded. You are still intimidating protesters. You're arresting them. You're putting them in prison, unknown to people. So, for instance, the case of Ojabi, I already came up. If not for Ojabi, people would not know that Ayorinde is in prison. And the people that were going, the lawyers that were going, the police officers, they kept denying that nobody like that is there. So there's so much impunity, and it reeks from the very top. So you find us, we are saying we are tired of these things. The things that we are tired of is still the same thing that you are doing. And you want us to believe that you're listening to us? You say there's going to be a reform, a reform is in progress. Who is supervising this reform? This menace started on, it could have been there, but now people are crying. And it's right under the nose of the Inspector General of Police. Now the Inspector General of Police is still in office. He's still the one to supervise the reform. Are we joking here?
Okay, well, we're joined by Jola Ayeye via Skype. Jola, how are you doing, if you can hear me? We're talking here about demands. There's a lot of talk about, what the young people want out of this. And I've been talking with Mr. Macaroni here, talking about, what exactly would assuage people? Because that's what I think government wants to hear. What do you think government needs to hear or do? I beg your pardon.
I can't speak for... Ebuka, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, good. Good afternoon. Hi, Dewo. Hope you're well. I think they are, speaking as a concerned citizen, just as a private individual, I think there are things the government can do in the short and long term. So there are things that can be done in 5 days. There are things that can be done in the space of, let's say 90 days. And then there are things that can be done within the year. But if you're talking about within the year, right, within the first 5 days, if you are saying what should they do to show a sign of good faith, to show action, that's the question, right, Ebuka?
Yes.
Okay. The first thing is a public apology to the Nigerian people from the very top. There hasn't been, in my personal opinion, there hasn't been enough levity given to the situation. And this constant talk of youths are not the only ones affected by the actions of the Special Anti-Robbery Squad and the rot in the Nigerian police force. But within 5 working days, for instance, the Nigerian government, federal government could say, okay, they are constituting a public commission of inquiry that's going to hold public hearings on the excesses of SARS. Okay, let's say this commission can have, there's this thing that's happening where there's an idea that you choose 2 random youths or 1 random youth and you give them a spot on a panel. No, make it half and half, 9 members. young people, and that will include lawyers, human rights specialists within this team. We can have 4 representatives, which will include like the secretary, and then the federal government will bring their 5 reps that can include the chairman. My personal opinion, any DIG in charge of the CID since the 29th of May 2015 should go on immediate suspension. Yes, getting ready to face that public commission of inquiry and other whatever sort of like internal processes the police has in place. Because it then shows that you are ready to, because this didn't start happening last week or last month. Nigerians have been dying for years. There have been rivers with bodies for years. If you are serious, if you are really trying to show young Nigerians that, oh, we are taking this menace seriously, then why can't you start with those 2? What is holding people back? At the very least, if you found out excesses in 2, 3, 4, we have SARS offices called abattoirs, for the love of God. And what's the best you can do? A governor is going to stroll in there and just sort of like survey what's going on. That's wrong. In my personal, these are things that I think show a sign of good faith. We hear that SARS is off the road, but we're still seeing pictures and reports from around the country of officials stopping young Nigerians and going through their phones and harassing them. So, who is really fooling who? I cannot understand this disdain, this lack of care that is being shown to young Nigerians. There are things you can do in 5 days. There are things you can do in 90 days. There are things you can do in a year. Reform takes a year, we know. But what are the immediate steps you are taking to make sure that young Nigerians understand that you are not only working to make them feel safe, but you're taking this extremely seriously. And you're not treating us like nuisances dancing on the road because we're having fun. We are dying. We are literally dying.
I'm going to come back to you, Jola. You very, very valid points. I mean, she's been very specific, with the kind of demands that she's looking at. But like I was talking with the guests earlier on, these demands seem to be snowballing into other things. We're seeing hashtag end bad governance. We're seeing a few other hashtags that are starting to, feed into this, what NSAS started. Do you think meeting these demands will get Nigerians off the streets?
Well, like for right now, I'm not the spokesperson for the Nigerian youth, so I cannot say whether whatever the government does now is going to get the youths off the street. One thing I'm certain of is that I'm a Nigerian youth, and I'm going to continue to use my voice to speak about these issues. Now, we're talking about the government meeting the demands, and maybe later then they are snowballing into other things. Why not meet these demands first? Why not begin to take action? Why not start doing, we're protesting, and our lives are not even secured. Safety is still a concern, and so we cannot even talk about any other thing until every Nigerian youth is sure that his or her life is safe. Safety comes first, and then we'll talk about other things.
Yeah. Do you get a sense that government will respond to these demands? Because on the one side, we've seen some level of action. Like I mentioned earlier, from certain state governors, from the Inspector General of Police making certain announcements. But on this list, especially the 5 for 5, which has become sort of the most visible demands from young people, do you get a sense that government will act on them?
Well, I'm not in government, so I wouldn't be able to say if they will or they will not. But one thing, what I'm sure about is that the leadership level in this country has been awful. It's been nothing to write home about. So, and you see, government has always had it easy going for them in this country.
Yeah.
A lot of recklessness, a lot of corruption here and there, and it's been easy. Nobody says anything. I mean, you come to us, you tell us snakes swallowed something million, and everybody will just laugh, and and we've been so used to it. We've been so used to impunity, such that if a governor or president or anybody fixes a road, we'll be like, you did something. Are you kidding me? It's your job. Do it. That's why you're there. So I won't be able to say whether that will get it. But can they even start by doing something?
Yeah.
Can they start by actually doing something? You're saying SARS has been disbanded. You put the officers somewhere. Have you started prosecuting these officers? Dismissal, is that punishment? Have they admitted? Nigerians need to hear the stories. These stories, a lot of stories are hidden. They are hidden. Nigerians need to listen to the atrocities committed by these officers. It needs to be public for the whole world to see. The whole world should know what we are going through, what we are facing, and why the Nigerian youths are saying enough is enough.
Jola, let me come back to you. I know we don't know how long this is going to go on for. People are just sort of like, because of how organic things are, it just seems like we wake up another day, whatever emotions people are feeling is what dictates the tune. But hypothetically speaking, if the protests end today, do you feel like Nigerian youth have won anything out of this?
I do not think so. I think that there is still an attitude of first of all, there's this thing of us being referred to as children. I hear that quite a bit. The children, our children, young Nigerian children. No, we are just your constituents, please and thank you. Because no leader, no parent will see what is happening to would have anything that SARS officials and rotten police officials do to their child and let it go. Or just continue waiting and watching. I don't believe so. There hasn't been any decisive action that lets us know that the Nigerian federal and state government are willing, ready, and able to do the work required to reform long term, because the short term actions haven't been taken. Yes, that's my personal view.
So one of the biggest, talking points as well of this entire, organic protest has been the fact that, there's no leader. We've seen so many conversations online saying, who's going to lead this? We need a representative. Someone should come and speak to us. How are things running? Because I know you are also part of, a coalition that has been sort of supporting the movement as well. How have things been able to run for this long without a leader, in quotes? And I mean, it's quite boggling, I believe, for a lot of people who are watching from the sidelines.
That's interesting because social media over the last decade has shown us what cross-country collaboration can do. Because it's such a widespread issue and so many people are affected personally, what is happening is that in small clusters, individuals are coming together to figure out what is needed to make our voices heard. And that includes feeding. If you're talking about sort of like, I guess it's sort of like the welfare, it is honestly individuals stepping up and figuring out the best ways to work together for one goal. That is all this is. It is the same way for the most part any association would run. It is just that it boggles the mind for most people that there is no single leader. It is clear people need to eat. It is clear people need protection. It is clear people need data or they need support mentally or emotionally. And Nigerians are coming together using tools they have available, most of them that have been developed in the last decade or so, to just work with each other. It's a spirit of camaraderie. We understand what each person is going through. And we know that as a unit, we demand better of the government, because this is state-backed apparatus we are dealing with. If the government isn't taking decisive action, it then looks to us like they support the killing of Nigerians. So based on that, anyone, anywhere, who is coming out to make their voices heard and make their demands known is doing their part, in essence. It's not, I am more boggled by the idea that it is rocket science, that people are working together for a common goal. That is what is even more baffling to me. Not that there is no one.
There's also been an argument, that at what point do you start shifting strategy? There's talks about, panels, like you even mentioned, and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Do we at a point start to say, okay, maybe we need to start having representatives to speak on certain issues for us? Are we ever going to get there, you think?
Yeah, the ball is in the government's court, Ebuka. It is very clear. It is very clear. The decisive actions that can be taken are very obvious. And until then, it is in bad faith to ask women who have lost children or fathers who have lost children or people who have lost siblings or loved ones or people who have had death scares and threats, who have been raped and beaten and harassed, who are scared to move around freely, even as citizens of their own country, to just believe in the best and hope for the best. I think that is wrong. A change in strategy will come from a change in attitude. And it's very simple. This thing of, oh, but we want to talk to you. I'll use a very simple example. I'm sure, Ebuka, when you were a child, there are times you would want something. And sometimes your mother would tell you, Ebuka, do this thing first, and then I will answer you. And until you did it, what would happen? She would not answer you. As soon as you started showing, sometimes you wouldn't even have done what she asked of you. But when you start showing what signs, you are trying, you want to, you are making an effort. Ebuka, what is it you wanted again? Let's have a discussion. Until then, young Nigerians who are afraid of dying will stay on the road. That is just the truth. We will keep crying and screaming and protesting because that is all we can do while alive. We would really appreciate being here in the long term. That's what this is all about.
Look, let me come to you now, Mr. Macaroni. She talks about, action there. And I want to talk about, the president and the vice president. A lot of people have, called them out a lot about, not talking to Nigerians, especially since these have started. But we've got, like I was talking to the guests earlier, we did get a sort of a 2-minute clip from Mr. President on Twitter, I think sometime earlier this week. We've seen tweets from both of them as well on social media. Those do not seem to be enough. I mean, people around the president would always tell you he doesn't have to speak up. The Inspector General of Police can address things around the police. The Minister of Police Affairs and the state governors can handle their states. Why is it important for Mr. President to speak?
Why is it important for the president to be president? Why is it important? Okay, so if tweets can do it, and if those clips once in 10 days can do it, why don't they keep that same energy during elections? During elections, you're going from place to place, from state to state, from local government to local government, and you're promising the Nigerian people that you will do better. You will do better than the previous one. So when we are in a state as this, where your people, those people that you have promised to take care of, are crying to you, you have no business sending tweets to us. Your business is to every day give a situation report. If you are on top of the situation, that is. If you are actually on top of the situation, every day you tell us something. These are the steps we're taking. These are the steps that we are taking. Tomorrow, this is going to happen. Next tomorrow, this is going to happen. Today, this is what happened. But you're there sending tweets, telling the people to calm down. Is that how you were elected into government? So, people need to see. I need to see. They need to wake up. They are used to sleeping. So they should wake up and talk to the people. Only then I'm answering when all of this I think would stop. I'm just one person, but the people need to see something. Show them something. Show them. Then we can now talk about, oh, okay, it will now take a while for this to happen. It will take. When the Nigerian youth see that the government is serious, then they can now start talking about maybe you want to sit at the table, you want to do this or do that.
Well, on that very passionate note, we're going to have to wrap this up. I mean, this conversation, I believe, is just starting. Thank you very much, Mr. Macaroni. Thanks a lot, Jola, for joining us via Skype. And we're going to take a break and be right back.